In this video, I'll be giving you my first impressions and review of the new Arturia KeyStep 37. Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. So around about 4 years ago, Arturia released the KeyStep, a small keyboard which really packed a punch with its neat sequencing features. Then they released the KeyStep Pro, a powerhouse of a keyboard with a price tag to match. So I was really pleased to hear that they'd sent me this box with the new KeyStep 37, which improves upon the original KeyStep but has a nice price tag. So we'll be looking at that in today's video. Now before we do get started, if you do like this kind of content, all about home recording, DAWs, gear reviews, plug-in reviews, that kind of thing, then please do subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube so that you are notified about my future videos. So let's see what's in the box. It's okay, I'd taken the keyboard out before I did that. It's just here. As with all Arturia keyboards that I've tried in this series, the 37 velocity sensitive keys with aftertouch have a wonderfully solid feel and are nicely responsive. The keys each have RGB lights above, which also give feedback on notes played in the sequencer, arpeggiator and chord modes. Again, the various switches, knobs and buttons seem rock solid. There's no issue with quality here, with an almost industrial feel. On the left hand side we see our pitch and mod wheel touch strips, something I find really natural and organic to use. At the top next to the display we see 4 knobs for controlling 4 banks of CC controls, a very welcome addition indeed. These also double up as controls over various aspects of the chord mode. For a small keyboard, we have a wonderful array of features on the back panel. Dip switches allow us to change the various clock modes. Alongside we have sync and CV connections for those wanting to connect to compatible synths, as well as a pair of traditional MIDI connections. Next to this we have a connection for a sustain pedal, and the whole thing can be hooked up to your computer via the USB-B connector. There is an option to use DC power, but it's not a necessity. For me, the keyboard was quite happily powered by both PC and iPad. By the way, when you do connect to your computer, you may want to try out the complimentary copy of Ableton Live Lite, which you get with this keyboard. Now, let's see how the various modes operate, starting with the sequencer mode. So, true to its name, the KeyStep 37 has a step sequencer built in. You don't have to install any software, nor do you even have to have it connected to a computer. You could connect this to a synthesizer or something like that and use this as a sequencer for that hardware. So let's take a quick look at what we can do with it. You can store 8 sequencers all in all, and you can select them using this knob down here with its 8 different positions. So I'll put it in the first position there, and I'll start to record a sequence. And we use these sort of transport controls in the middle here for record, stop, play and pause. So I'm going to hit record and then I'm just going to play a sequence of notes. Now I've recorded those notes, but the length of time that I played them for doesn't matter at all. We've actually just created a sequence of notes. We can play it now. And you'll see that they just play around in a circular fashion, and it really doesn't matter how long I held the notes for. Now we can increase the rate in a couple of different ways. First of all, we can change the division. So these are quarter notes at the moment, which means there's 4 playing per bar. I'll change it to 1/8 notes like so. And we can change to lots of different divisions like so. Okay. Now we can also control the rate with the rate knob here. Let's have a listen to that. As well as that, we can actually tap the tempo here. So I'll do that now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's have a listen. If I think that's too slow, I could just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as well as that, we can actually add in some rests as well. We don't have to have a note on every single division. So let's record another one, this time with some rests by hitting this key here, which is the tap key when we're not recording, but becomes the rest key while we're recording. So I'll press record. Okay, let's have a listen to that. Cool. So we can also actually add two notes at the same time. It doesn't have to be monophonic. Let's have a go at that. Now we're not stuck to the key that we played it in, so we can start to move it around onto sort of different chord positions if you like. You'll see that when I start playing that the green notes light up to show which notes are playing, but there's a white note lit up down here on this C note here. If I change to a different position, you'll hear that the sequence will change to a different position as well. So let's have a play with that. So that's the kind of fun that you can have with this sequencer, and it's great fun if you connect it up to a synthesizer. So using the switch on the left, we can go from sequencer to arpeggiator mode. So I'll do that now. And then if we press play on the transport controls and hold a chord down on the keyboard, it'll play that chord as an arpeggio. Let's have a look. Now it's got three notes in that arpeggio because there's three notes in my chord. Obviously, if I play more notes in the chord, then there'll be more steps in the arpeggio. Now that's playing a really simple one, starting from the bottom going to the top of the chord. There's a number of different ones to choose from. I'll choose the third one here using this selector, and this time it will go from the bottom to the top and then back down to the bottom again. We can also control the divisions just as we did in the sequencer mode. So I'll go from quarter notes here to eighth notes, so it'll be much, much quicker. And we can also control the speed using the rate knob as we did in the sequencer mode, or by tapping on the tap button to set the tempo. Now if we use the hold button down here, if we engage that and then press the notes of our chord again, we don't actually have to leave our fingers on the keys. We can change to another chord. Back down again. So the arpeggiator mode is also affected by the chord mode, which is the thing I'm going to talk about next. So under normal circumstances, the knobs at the top here are our CC controls, and we have 4 banks of CC controls, which we can select by holding Shift and then pressing this button here to change to the different banks. Now if we're not holding Shift, then this is the chord button. We can go into chord mode by pressing that button. Now these knobs control the different parameters in the chord mode. Now the chord mode enables us to play chords by just playing one note on the keyboard, but we first of all got to start off by selecting a type of chord. So I'm going to use the type knob here, and I'll turn that around, and I'm going to do minor chords, which is indicated by that hyphen there. Now if we press one key on the keyboard, then I get that G minor chord. Now you'll notice that there's 3 notes being played in that chord, and we've got lights above to show that. Now we can change that using the notes knob here. So I could say I just have 2 notes in the chord, or I could change it up to something like, let's say 12, we'll do that. Now we can also control the number of notes using velocity. Now we change the way that behaves using this velocity notes control here. So at the moment it's all the way down to the left, so it's just playing all of the notes. But if we turn it all the way to the right, then it becomes much, much more sensitive. So if I play very gently, you'll see there's just 2 notes being played there, a little harder. There's a few more notes being played. And the harder I press, the more notes are added to the chord. So you can have a lot of fun with that. Now I'm going to put that back down to its normal position. And the other thing that we can do is create strums. So you know, like how on a guitar, rather than playing the notes all at exactly the same time, we strum down through the notes so they're played in quick succession. So if we use the strum control here, and I'll just put it a little bit over to the right there, and I press that note again, you can see that it's played just like you would with a strum on a guitar. If we put it in a negative position, then we can actually have it playing downwards. So you can have a lot of fun with these different controls and chords. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can actually use this in combination with the sequencer and the arpeggiator mode as well. So I'll just sort of change these controls a little bit here. Now I've still got that sequence that we created earlier. So I'm going to change the type now to just octaves so that we can hear it a bit easier and it doesn't sound too awful. And I'm going to play that sequence we created earlier again. So you can hear that we're actually playing that sequence but with octaves on the notes. So it means that you could sort of create chord sequences rather than note sequences as well, with both the sequencer and conceivably the arpeggiator. So before we discuss price and my final conclusions on this keyboard, I'd like to ask you for a small favour. If you have enjoyed watching this video, then make sure you hit the like button. That lets YouTube know that other people should see this video as well. Now, if you didn't like this video, even before you know the price of this keyboard, hit the dislike button twice. And if you do like this kind of content, subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube so that you're notified about my future videos. Now, whenever I'm trying out a keyboard like this, the most important thing to me is the quality of the keys themselves. I want them to be nice and solid and also sensitive as well, and this definitely ticks all of the boxes there. Even before you add in the sequencer, the arpeggiator and the chords, this is a really nice controller keyboard just by itself. Now if you want to connect it up to things like synthesizers, that kind of thing, then this is definitely a good choice there as well because of the connectivity you've got on the back for that kind of thing. Now in terms of price, I'm making this video just before this keyboard is released, but I'm led to believe the price is going to be around about $169 US. Now that's a really good price for a keyboard of this quality with these features, and I'm pretty sure that price will go down as well. So as soon as I have them, I'll put some links in the description down below to some places where you can buy this keyboard. Now if you'd like to know about other gear that I use in this studio, then check in the description down below for my gear guide, and don't forget you can now support me on Patreon. I've got a link for that as well down in the description. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this keyboard in the comments down below, and I will see you there.